So your first do now for today's lesson is called Scavenger Hunt, and you need to answer these 4 questions using the table of dates in Coming to America. The first question says, in what year did Columbus reach the Americas? In what year did the Dutch settle in New Amsterdam? In what year did Ellis Island open? And in what year did Ellis Island close? This is what the table of dates looks like, and it is attached to the warm-up. So what text features did you notice in Coming to America? I want you to pause and think about it. Okay, so hopefully you saw the table of dates at the end of the book, the paragraph about immigration today, as well as other interesting facts about America, all at the end of the book. So the extra material at the end of a book is referred to or also known as the back matter, which is extra information after the main text that can be very helpful in deepening understanding of a topic. So now I'm going to read aloud the back matter of Coming to America, and please make sure to follow along and listen for key words. Alright, so now I'm going to read the back matter to you. That's not in the read aloud video on YouTube already. And so I'm going to start with the table of dates and go through to other interesting facts about immigration. Alright, so about 20,000 BC, first people come to North America from Asia. AD 200, civilizations flourish in the Americas. Year 1000, Vikings settle for a short time in Newfoundland, Canada. 1492, Columbus reaches the Americas. Other European explorers soon follow. 1505, first African slaves are brought to the Americas by the Spaniards. 1537, New Spain is established in Mexico after conquest of Aztecs. 1541, French explorer Jacques Cartier founds settlement at Quebec, Canada. 1565, Spanish established fort at San Augustine, later St. Augustine, Florida. 1585, the English settle briefly on Roanoke Island off North Carolina. 1607, first permanent English colony is established at Jamestown, Virginia. 1619, first African slaves are brought to the English colonies. 1620, pilgrims come to Massachusetts in search of religious freedom. 1624, Dutch settle in New Amsterdam, later New York City. 1630, Puritans come to Massachusetts. 16,000 come to Boston in next 10 years. 1638, first Swedes come to Delaware. 1640, colonial population is about 28,000. 1677, Quakers arrive from England. 1683, Welsh and Germans settle near Philadelphia. 1709, Swiss and German immigrants settle in the Carolinas. 1718, New Orleans is founded by the French. 1750, population numbers over 1 million. 1769, Spanish established first mission in California. 1790s, the first census or counting of citizens is authorized by Congress. Population reaches almost 4 million. 1821, first American settlement is founded in Texas at Austin. 1845, thousands of Irish begin coming to escape famine in Ireland. 1848, first Chinese immigrants arrive in San Francisco. 1850, the 7th U.S. Census counts about 23 million in the 31 states of the Union. 1886, the Statue of Liberty is unveiled. 1892, Ellis Island opens. 1900, U.S. population stands at 76 million. There are 45 states. 1907, peak year for Ellis Island. More than 1 million immigrants pass through. 1917, 33 different groups are now excluded from coming to America. 1950, U.S. population is now about 150 million. There are 48 states. 1954, Ellis Island closes. 1965 through 1992, new immigration laws and discriminatory quotas set numerical limits and offer amnesty to many illegal immigrants. In the year 2000, population is more than 260 million. Immigration today. Before 1965, there were limits on the numbers of immigrants who could come to the United States from many countries. These quotas, based on national origin, were abolished by the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. The United States began to give preference to those who were refugees and those who already had family members in the country. Between 1981 and 1990, more than 7 million immigrants were admitted. Most of the new citizens were Asians and Hispanics. Today, nearly 1 million legal immigrants arrive in the United States each year. Many others enter the country illegally. These immigrants do not have permission to come. Because they are often desperate to leave political unrest or economic hardship at home, they take great risks traveling by boat or coming across the border with Mexico. Smugglers sometimes help these illegal aliens to get into the United States. The cost is very high. Some die in transit, and many others find themselves virtual slaves when they reach their destination. Although the government tries to intervene, illegal immigration is hard to control. Other interesting facts about immigration. I also wanted to note that in today's times, with our current president, unfortunately, we can see on the news how this last sentence of immigration today is different for us because the government has gone through many measures to control illegal immigration in ways that are inhumane and forceful and separating families. And so I didn't want to move on with this book without stating that first, and we can talk more about that some other time. So the next part of the back matter is other interesting facts about immigration. In 1654, Jewish refugees arrived in New Amsterdam. They hoped to find religious freedom in America after fleeing intolerance and violence in Spain. In 1755, during the French and Indian Wars, the British deported French settlers from Nova Scotia. About 900 Acadian refugees arrived in the American colonies. Early in the 1800s, it was not unusual for 1/10 of the passengers aboard ship to die during the long ocean voyage. Often, more than half the passengers were ill. The length of time for an ocean crossing changed from around 15 weeks in the middle of the 1700s to about 15 days by 1840. About 30 different languages were spoken by the staff and officials of Ellis Island. More than 20 million immigrants came to the United States between 1880 and 1920. In 1897, a fire destroyed the 5-year-old immigration center on Ellis Island. In 1900, a new fireproof center opened. By 1914, there were 33 buildings, including a chapel, hospital, and laundry. About 10 million Africans were brought to the Americas as slaves. Most African Americans are their descendants. Over 100 million Americans, 2/5 of our population, can trace their roots to a relative who passed through Ellis Island. Thousands of newly arrived immigrants settle in New York City every year. More than 100 different languages are spoken there. So now looking specifically at the table of dates on page 39, what happened in 1886? To answer the question, the Statue of Liberty was unveiled in 1886. Although she is known as the Statue of Liberty, the title of the actual sculpture is Liberty Enlightening the World. So we're going to break that down. Enlightening means to share knowledge, and liberty means freedom. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be examining how the statue represents liberty enlightening the world. So now that I've read the back matter to you, all 3 parts, what I want you to do for your first part of today's classwork is to write 2 new facts that you learned from the back matter. And I want you to write 2 new facts that speak to you, that are important to you. So I want you to write that here, in this table right here, and right here. So again, I want to emphasize that Google Doc, you're able to just type in directly. Okay, so if you're using a tablet or an iPad, you have to download Google Docs in order to edit the doc directly. So please make sure you do that. And now for the next part, I'm going to show you again the picture of the Statue of Liberty, and I'm going to define what the 3 parts or 3 elements I want you to focus on today. And I want you to think about what those 3 elements symbolize. The 3 elements being the torch, the diadem or the crown, and the shackles. And you're going to write what it symbolizes here. All right? So I hope you remember this graphic from Tea with Milk. Symbol means object picture that represents a person, place, thing, or idea. Right? And so we talked about how tea with milk and sugar represents Masako's American life. So now I want you to think about these three elements: the torch at the top, fire carried on a stick or pole as a portable light, the diadem, the crown, and the shackles, the metal bands used for binding the wrists or ankles of a prisoner or animal, or also known as cuffs. So I want you to think about these three specific elements of the Statue of Liberty, and what do you think these three elements symbolize? And I'm going to give you some hints. So here are your clues. I gave you some information, three different pieces of information for the three different elements that I want you to think about, what they symbolize. So I'm going to read out loud, and I want you to think about which element should fit in which box or blank. The blank has 25 windows and 7 spikes. Some experts say it is supposed to be a halo, and the spikes represent rays of the sun coming from it. Others say the 7 spikes symbolize 7 seas and 7 continents. The blank is a copper flame covered in 24-karat gold. It reflects the sun's rays during the day and is lighted by 16 floodlights at night. It symbolizes progress and enlightenment. It was replaced in 1986. The blank on the Statue of Liberty's feet are broken. They symbolize the end of slavery. They also symbolize that France admired President Lincoln. So now I'm going to show you. First, before I show you the answer, I want you to think. You can pause the video, and I want you to think, the diadem, the torch, and the shackles, right? Those are the three elements I want you to think about. Which of those elements fit in which box? Right, so for the first one, it's the diadem, the second is the torch, and the third is the shackles. What you can do is you can pause the video if you want to reread this information with the answers inside the blank. What each of these elements symbolize over here, I want you to answer this question. So please don't forget. So I noticed that a lot of you, when I have these sentence starters in the table already, it tends to be forgotten, or you look past it because it looks like it's done, but it's not, okay? So the question is, overall, what do you think the Statue of Liberty symbolizes, okay? And so I want you to write your answer here. I think she symbolizes blank. So an idea. What do you think the Statue of Liberty symbolized? Okay, or symbolizes, because blank. So your evidence here, why you think, or the reason why you think that the Statue of Liberty symbolizes whatever you wrote down here in the parentheses. Okay, so you can either highlight the parentheses, you can type in between the parentheses, and write down whatever idea you think she symbolizes. Okay? All right, so now for our second part of today's lesson, answering our craft question. How does engaging and orienting the reader work? Engaging meaning writing an interesting hook that makes the reader want to know more, and orienting the reader meaning helping the reader understand who the main character is, what the setting is, and what is happening. So here is your mnemonic or next writing model for narrative writing called Escape. All right, super exciting. We're going to call it Escape into the Story, and we're going to use this to help us write narrative writing pieces. So as a review, these are the writing models that we have learned so far in the 3rd grade: describing your knowledge to a T when writing explanatory pieces, and Iorico for opinion writing. So we're going to use Escape into the Story to plan a story about an image in a text. Today we're only going to focus on the top 3 first: establish, setting, and characters, ESC. Okay. So the E stands for establish, which is orienting your reader to the situation, explain what is happening. The S stands for setting, when and where does the story take place? And the C stands for characters, who is the story about and what do they want? So this is what the graphic organizer looks like for your classwork today, just the ESC, and I want you to fill it out to plan a story about page 13. So this is what page 13 looks like, and I want you to pick one person in this illustration who interests you, and I want you to pretend that you are that person, and in that person's perspective, I want you to establish your setting and your characters and explain what's happening. I want you to remember the topic of this module, which is immigration, so I want you to be thinking about The characters are immigrants. And what is their life like as an immigrant here in this illustration? Please be as creative as possible when you're filling out this graphic organizer. So finally, your exit ticket for today, thinking about our deeper exploration of text features, especially the back matter, please fill out the following sentence. I think blank is an important detail, so a new fact that you learned from the back matter, because, so the second blank should include the reason why you think that that new fact that you wrote down is important. For today's exit ticket, you can respond to a classmate if you would like. Finally, last but not least, your lesson 18 question set. So you're going to be looking at page 38 in Coming to America. You need to reread the second column of the table of dates, beginning from 1709, ending with the year 2000, and you need to answer the following questions. So if you want to hear this being read aloud again, I'll put the minute and second in the description of the YouTube video so that you can just click on that so that you can re-listen to this part of the page. Okay, but I'm going to read you the questions out loud as well as the vocabulary text box. So words to know: famine means a lack of food. Unveiled means uncovered, which we talked about earlier in this video. Also meaning shown for the first time, and excluded means kept out. So number 1 says, read this timeline entry, 1907, peak year for Ellis Island. More than 1 million immigrants passed through. What does the word peak mean in this entry? A, the top part of a mountain. B, the highest point of activity. C, a quick secret look. Or D, a sharp pointed part of an object. Number 2. Okay, so this one you need to pick 2 answer choices. 2. Which of the events happened before the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty in 1886? A, the first Chinese immigrants arrived in California. B, Ellis Island opened. C, the U.S. population reached 150 million. Or D, New Orleans was founded by the French. Second part to number 2, which of the events happened after the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty, 1886? Again, you need to pick 2 answer choices or you will not get full credit. A, the first Chinese immigrants arrived in California. B, Ellis Island opened. C, the U.S. population reached 150 million. Or D, New Orleans was founded by the French. So again, for 2 and 2B, you need to pick 2 answer choices. And number 3, what details are included in this table of dates? A, information about immigration in the United States since 2000. B, the number of immigrants who come to the United States every year. C, which American cities have the most immigrants and where they came from. Or D, why some different immigrant groups came to the United States. Please pick the best answer. Good luck. And that is it for today. You got this. I believe in you.